Going to be answering your Starfield questions now here on Giant Bomb. The review embargo is up. Reviews are getting out there. Mike, do you know what is the initial Metacritic and all that?
Yeah, it's like the Open Critic's at an 86. Metacritic, it loaded at one point was like an 88-ish. So
that's right where I was. That's right where I was expecting. Maybe even the high end of what I was expecting.
Yeah, actually, honestly, high end. I don't want to say that I think they dodged a bullet. But you're seeing that. You are seeing some, GameSpot. I think 7 out of 10. Some other ones, and I can completely see that. In fact, in some ways, I like this game. I probably would give it probably an 85-ish around that range.
I literally was thinking on a 100-point scale, I would give it an 85.
Right, and I can almost see the point more of a 7 out of 10 than this isn't coming at anybody than the people who are more this is our top score, right?
Yeah.
I think I see that avenue a bit more.
I mean, I could see both ways because I think like Tom was talking about, he's just he stumbled into these great quests and he didn't have many bugs. And so it's in that scenario, if that's the experience you're having, that sounds like a really great time.
I am shocked about because that's kind of my biggest thing is still bugs, and more so than that, the general jank is still borderline out of control and miserable to me. God, just yesterday I was going crazy because I had a mission. I had to go save a captain who had his ship taken over by pirates. So I go on the ship, I kill every pirate I see. And I talk to guys I think there's still more of them out there, so I can't do anything. And then it's where's the pirate? And my mini map shows the red marker. It's oh God, he's not loading, or he's above the ship or something. So I try to reload and go back in. Nope, this guy's there's still more of them out there, and I just can't kill this pirate. So then I go out. It's okay, I'm just gonna blow the ship up. Then screw it. And I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to because I'm supposed to save the guy.
So then I just like that kind of stuff. It's
rigid.
Yes, rigid.
Surprisingly rigid.
And it's it's not always that rigid. You can blow up a lot of the ships and stuff. You blow most of them, but in a lot of Bethesda games, they get a point where it's no, this is someone you can't kill. At most, you can make them pass out, and then they're going to come back. And it's okay, well, I mean, I kind of want them to advance to the point where I can kill anybody, and the game accounts for that. And they still aren't making that game. They're making the game that they make, and now it's in space. I'll say that I spent the first 10-ish hours just exploring different star systems, bouncing around, and I had a pretty good time doing that. I was getting a lot of illicit goods that when I would try to fly to a reputable star system, they would scam me and be you're under arrest, and I would dip. Eventually, I did get arrested, and that's how I got drafted by the cops to go undercover with the Red Fleet, the Crimson Fleet, excuse me, and that's been a good quest line. I do think the main quest line gets pretty interesting.
Main quest lines are good.
Because the main quest line, eventually, you have there's more to it than you're expecting. There's more mystery. There's there's a lot of intrigue there, and I'm really appreciating that. And you do unlock some important stuff on the main quest line, so I would really recommend doing the main quest line up to a certain point at the very least. But then this is a game that's going to be best served by going to the place that you're most interested by. If you like Neon City, if that sort of underground corporate city is your cup of tea, go there. You'll find some quests that I'm sure will be interesting to you. Just overall, though, it's a game that I'm enjoying the more and more I play, which at first I was I think you said whelmed. I will show up to the game and I was yeah, okay, this is almost exactly what the joke would have been, Fallout 4 in space. It's really is just that. And then as I'm playing more, it's they did so much, and they put so much into this game at a certain point, and so much of it is actually very good that I'm having a very good time with it. Now, that's my bugs were pretty atrocious. I had one where my ship disappeared, so I could not do any sort of space flight. So I could not trade with other ships or do space combat. It was just broken. There was no answer from Bethesda on how to fix that. Eventually, I jumped to a Starfield. I could jump from planet to planet, and the camera would just sit there, and it wouldn't do anything. Eventually, I jumped into an asteroid field, and an asteroid seemingly hit my ship from off screen and knocked it back in front of the camera and fixed the game for me, so I could keep playing. But the other bug is I did a main quest mission, and I basically exhausted everything I could do in this main quest, and then I got I had this big option where I had to go to one place or the other, this fork in the story, and I went to the place that I think is a little bit less, the game's not quite expecting you to do, but I did that, and when I tried to go back to the other place, so the game says, hey, go back to the other place now, since you went up there, that's the choice you made, now you got to go see the ramifications of your actions. It would not let me land there it was completely forbidden because the game was not clicking on that contraband scan that I talked about. It needs to do that first in the system, and that wasn't happening. So I was not cleared to land. And I tried everything. I waited for an update, a patch. Nothing fixed it. I had to go back to a previous save, and all my auto saves at this point had been written over. So I lost about 3 hours of progress, and that's just not okay. That's the kind of bug that there is no room for that. That's not really happened to me in a big game like this in a very long time. So the idea that it's still happening in Bethesda games, very frustrating. That said, I'm over it. I'm playing the game and still really enjoying it. It's what I want to be playing. I'm going to be kind of sad that I'm not going to be playing it this weekend when everyone else is, because I'm going to be traveling. That said, it doesn't really work on the ROG Ally. I didn't even try it on the Steam Deck. They said it wouldn't work on those things, though.
Because we are getting some questions from people. Do you want me to
Yes.
read?
So now we kind of got the initial stuff out. Why don't you read some of these questions and we'll get into it?
So you're kind of talking about that performance on ROG, but Timonius asked, what are you playing on and how does it run?
Well, I played it on the 4090, I played it on an Xbox Series X, and I played it on an Xbox Series S. I think it runs acceptably well, even on an S, but it's a heavy game. And so that means, like, in certain circumstances, even on the 4090, it wasn't running at 60 frames per second at 4K at all times. And that's usually in populated areas, usually in one of these big cities. But if you get out to one of these less populated planets, it is going to be 60 frames per second, sort of without an issue. And then on Xbox Series S, it's 30 frames per second. It's fine most of the time. It is definitely, if you've been used to 60 frames per second for this entire generation, it is hard to go back to 30. That's for sure, Mike.
Yeah, so I have a 3070 Ti. I was playing it on my PC and doing medium settings, trying to still play in 4K. And a lot of time, it's running like pretty nice frame rate. But yeah, those cities, those densely populated areas, it does get very variable, and it is a little bit off-putting, but nothing that absolutely drove me crazy, right? It's not like, Armored Core and obviously Armored Core has to do a lot less, but, playing that, it had that feeling so silky smooth, right? It's weird going back to such a variable frame rate again, but whatever. See, another question here. Nylok asks, how are the RPG systems?
I think they're pretty good. I think the persuasion system is pretty good. Gives you a bunch of options. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. You got to fill up a certain amount of the meter to win them over. And it's not all dice rolls, which can be good. In this game, it's much more, what do I know about this person? And what can I say that they're interested in that might win them over? An example of that, and this might be in the quick look, because I had to redo some of those missions because of the bug that happened right before I was going to do the goddamn quick look. You get to this guy, and he is a collector of all these these artifacts and stuff like that, and he's very vain, and his ship's a miserable pile of shit. Like, he's got like a mess everywhere, except for his collection is immaculate. And you get the sense that because of his vanity, and he likes to be flattered. So if there's any option to flatter him, that'll be more effective than if you were to select something else. So if you know that about him and you take advantage of that, you're going to get rewarded. And I really like that. I think then in terms of like the building out your character system, I think that's pretty. I like upgrading. I think that the upgrade system of being there's like 4 tiers for each of these, like 5 different slots. Like, one's science, one is technology, or one like piloting or something like that. One's combat, things like that. And you need to unlock 3 things on each tier to go to the next tier. But on each thing you unlock, like let's say you unlock piloting, a piloting skill, you can unlock a bunch on that tier, or you can do things as a pilot, like destroy 5 ships or something like that, and that will unlock a level deeper within that piloting skill itself. So you can go deeper, or you can go wider on a skill, and it's I really like that as well.
Yeah, I think you kind of covered it there. Instinct 666 asked, how's the space flight / fighting? This is probably one of my bigger disappointments, Jeff, is that just the way, I think the space flying itself feels good, but the way you do it, you're not flying from one planet to another planet within a system. You're not even flying from one planet to its moon. A lot of it is you fast travel to a planet or wherever you're going, and then you're kind of in that space around there. and maybe there will be enemies there, or there will be an encounter of some kind, or you'll have to travel to a space station orbiting that planet. But the amount of time you spend in the cockpit feels a lot shorter than I
You
would have
have to make a conscious
anticipated.
decision to spend time in the cockpit, so that's how I played the game for the early part and for several hours. Now I'm like doing a lot of fast traveling so I can get through stuff so I can experience as much as I can before I have to go. But before that, I was like, no, I am going to run back to my ship. I'm then going to run to the cockpit. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to either undock from the ship I was connected to or take off. And it does the sequence where it shoots you out into space or undocks you. And all that stuff feels good. It feels cinematic and it feels like you are, really running this ship. But if you don't consciously make the effort to do that, it is so easy to just select things off a map and be standing on a planet and say, okay, I want to travel to another planet on the other side of this galaxy. You just click a button, and next thing you know, the ship is either going there or you're fast traveling to the thing itself if you've already been there. And that's just not how I've explored Bethesda games in the past. So I'm with Mike that was probably one of the bigger disappointments.
I often have this problem with the kind of like sci-fi RPG where even though you technically have like this much bigger total area to explore, it somehow feels less free than say a Skyrim or a Fallout, where it's just this one map. You can walk from one corner to the other. Even going back to the old Republic, Star Wars Republic just doesn't feel as good to me as a World of Warcraft because there is so much. We'll go to this planet and explore its 3 areas and things like that. So just like the constant kind of quick traveling, and there's a lot of that in Bethesda games anyways. There is something weird about just pushing a couple buttons and I'm on one planet, then all of a sudden I am back at my hub. And the game kind of is designed a way where you are going to have to fast travel a lot. You will have a mission. Well, go talk to this person on this planet. Now go talk to this person on that planet, and now go back to the other planet, right? Maybe there could have been more to keep. Like once getting somewhere could have been more of an adventure, and once you're there, you have a reason to be there for a while. But kind of classic Bethesda design, you are hopping around all over the place.
Yep, and it's like when you do go down to a planet and you land on a planet. This was a big thing that was like popping off before the game came out. I've never reached the boundary. So what happens is you can land either at points of interest that the game tells you about, or you can land anywhere on the planet. And then it will procedurally generate a location, and it will have that within that location, there will be new points of interest that will be usually unknown, and you'll have to go to them to figure out what they are. And these things are a half kilometer away to, 2-3 kilometers away, and you have to actually walk there if you want. If I see something that's like a kilometer away, I might go to it. But if it's further than that, I'm like, that's so far away. I'm probably not going to go there. And apparently it goes for like 10-ish kilometers or something like that. It's a pretty long walk. The space that they procedurally generate is about the size of a Skyrim map or something like that. So I just don't, most people are not going to ever see the boundary if you're worried about that. But these, like if you land on a spot and then you have this whole area kind of created and you fly up, and then you pick a different spot like right next to there, it's not like those areas are going to be connected. That's not what they're doing. That's just not how this game works. And at a certain point, the game that they're making is very friendly to just like being played as a game as opposed to being played like a sim. And I think most people are probably going to be like, this is fine. But I had expectations of like, oh, I'd be able to fly around the planet, even though I knew for a while now that I wouldn't be able to. I thought they'd have some sort of simulation
not No
of
Man's
that.
Sky.
It's not. It's just not in any way like that. It is a Bethesda RPG, and that's the stuff it does pretty well. It's like hard to like talk about. It's so easy to get into the negatives with this game. I think
It is. Again, I hate kind of giving that impression, but like that is why I am like a little like bugged because there are all these little things that come up. But like it's the game that I keep playing. I keep enjoying it while I'm playing, unless I come across some of this jankiness. Let's get to another question here. Colonel Sanders 21 asks, if I bounce off of Bethesda games, will I likely bounce off this, or does the space stuff add enough to it? I mean, again, I think especially like the first like 10, 20 hours, it is so much kind of a Fallout in space situation. And for some people, and I even said in the chat, so many people came at me or replied to me, didn't come at me like aggressively. They're like, oh, good, Fallout in space is exactly what I want. There's a lot of people are going to think that. A lot of people love a Fallout or a Skyrim or just Bethesda games in general, and you don't get these very often. So this is incredibly exciting for a ton of people. I like those games too.
Yep.
right? I get Fallout 4 a little bit of shit, but I liked Fallout 3 and Skyrim and Oblivion a ton, and it is kind of comforting and fun to be able to play one of these again.
And someone said, Minto says, check out the Outer Worlds if you want Fallout in space. I like this better than I like Outer Worlds. Outer Worlds was, I think maybe it's definitely more condensed and focused, and will get you to what it will get you to its content much faster. In terms of again, here's what's available if you want to just get right to it. This it's very easy to get lost and go do all kinds of other stuff, but I've had a lot of fun getting lost and doing all kinds of other stuff. Although I never did find out anyone that would buy my illegal stuff. That's why I started doing some of the missions, because I'm like, I bet I get to a fence eventually, and then I'll be able to know where to go when I have illegal mech parts in the future, which is what I had. Any more questions, Mike? I think we got a whole bunch more, right?
Yeah. Goose Bunch says, "How is the enemy level scaling? Is it as bad as Oblivion's?"
No, there's no. I don't think there is level scaling really.
I'm trying to think. There must be some kind, but there are definitely like planets that say level 20 on them or something like that.
I was flying out in like the early game in the level 65 stuff, and you can like go there, and it's just like if you get into a space battle or you run across some like wild fauna, you're probably going to be screwed. You're going to have to run more than fight. And so like there probably is. You're right. There probably is some level scaling in some of the procedural stuff that happens, right? If you go to something like that, but yeah, for the most part, it is telling you the level of the system as you get there. All the early ones are like level 1, level 5, level 15, and they're like green to let you know that you're probably going to be fine here. And then all the ones to the far like east side of the galaxy or whatever, those are red and dangerous to be in.
Dance City says, "How complicated is the shipbuilding? Can I make a cool thing without spending 5 hours in an editor?" I like the shipbuilding quite a bit myself.
It's complicated in an easy way, I think. Like you're going to understand it. It is definitely modular. It is putting pieces together. But you have a lot of options, and I think Mike, you pointed this out. Like you can connect things, but the things won't connect in multiple points. So what you're going to end up with like kind of a donut shaped ship, or maybe a ship that's shaped like a B, as you have like these tubes that connect on all these sides, but then you won't be able to connect them through the circle in the middle. That's fine. I expanded my ship and turned it kind of basically a wiener dog, I had, it's this little Serenity looking ship at first, and then I needed more space. And so I elongated it. I had a bunch of more habs and stuff so I could have more crew members and just make it feel more like a home. And then immediately I increased my piloting skills, which enabled me to fly certain other people's ships if I were to be in such a situation. And a bunch of religious zealots attacked me. I killed them. And then when I was done, I'm like, I'm going to go. Well, I boarded their ship and then killed them. And I'm like, I'm going to see if I could steal their ship because it's really nice and really big. And I was able to. And that's my new ship. And I'm flying that around. And that's really cool. I always like the idea of being able to steal a ship and make it my own. That there is some restrictions there. There are going to be ships that you don't have the rights to fly, and some you will need to have an even higher piloting skill to take over. But that's been really cool.
There's a little scuttlebutt going around. Volition might be shutting down. We'll see if we can get to the bottom of this. Let this shake up. At least one employee tweeted something to this effect. We'll see what's going on there, everybody. But we've got some more questions. Dark Alaran, do companions do anything more / different compared to Fallout 4?
It's pretty similar.
I'm pretty similar. They're pretty similar. They're pretty. I almost wish I didn't have a companion, because they kind of they are, again, janky. They will just kind of randomly say things to me while I'm in conversations with other people.
They still do that.
Or walk around. Like, Jeff, you said this when we were talking before. Like, sometimes things feel like those TikTok NPC memes still. And I kind of thought we'd be a little bit past that.
And it's not. It is exactly that stuff.
It is NPCs walking into each other in the background while you're talking to somebody else, and like coming up to you and saying, "Hi, how are you doing?" while you're already having a full-blown conversation with somebody else. So, and it's like, oh, okay, we're still doing this stuff. But, and you know what? They still get in my way, too. They still just stand in the wrong place. You'll do that thing where you look behind you, and they're always, like, running at full sprint to catch up to where you are. And it's like, oh, God.
I tend to leave my companions behind, or I take the robot. And that's not only because of the jank. A lot of that's, like, I like to play my way. And if this is the best thing about Bethesda RPGs. They're the ones that are the easiest to play a scoundrel in. I have a really hard time playing the bad guy in like a BioWare RPG or something that's similar to that.
Yes.
Here, it's like, that thing is just laying there. I'm going to steal it. I'm just going to take it. No one's using it. It's mine now. And they really enable that. And then the game like accommodates that to the point where suddenly you're going to find a new awesome quest. The quest that Tom was talking about happens because you're someone who might have stolen something and got arrested, and now you're going to get swept away into this other thing. That is where the Bethesda games are at their best, and that's where, I mean, that reminds me of the best one, like the Thieves Guild quest from Oblivion or whatever it was. And but to sort of play that way, I don't like having someone standing next to me and be like, that doesn't belong to you. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Well, give me the robot. He doesn't ever judge me. He might judge me, but I don't care. He's just a robot.
I got this guy, Sam Coe, and I like him a lot, but I am sometimes could do without his judgments on things. Like, I don't need to know if Sam Coe liked something or not, actually. I don't care.
Yeah, it'll be kind of, I think I was expecting them to move past some of those things that kind of feel like aged out a little bit. It doesn't, for the most part, like when you are doing stuff that does deal with companions and you know how those relationships are going, that stuff is still fun and useful. But when you're just kind of playing through a normal mission that doesn't have anything to do with those companions and they are chiming in, I could do without that.
Lunar Jennings asks, "Can I fly into a black hole?" I have not even encountered a black hole yet.
I don't know, and I'm getting to a point where some of these quests where it's like I get the hint that maybe there is a black hole, but I don't know. So no spoilers. I really honestly don't know. I guess we'll all find out together.
Instinct 666 asks, "They talked a lot about resource mining. Is there a lot of crafting, and how's the inventory?" Management. Yeah, there's a lot of that. That's like the one thing that does remind me of No Man's Sky is like getting your little space laser and like hitting little rocks. Sure. But there's so much more with that you can do with making outposts, which is something I just started scratching the surface with, and it does seem like a pretty in-depth system in terms of building your bases and assigning people to work on them and getting all these resources so you can build more bases. And it also feels like, Jeff, you don't have to do any of that really if you don't want to.
You can skip over a lot of these things, but when you land on a planet and you get out your scanner, a lot of these resources, like Mike said, will be these little rocks on the surface that you could break apart with your laser and gather them up. You'll get a ton of iron or whatever that way. But sometimes you'll be walking over a landmass and the landmass will be colored that color, but there's no obvious rock sitting on the surface. Like I found I think a moon that had a bunch of plutonium on it. And I think the idea is, I've also, like Mike, just started scratching the surface of this. But I think the idea is if you take an outpost and you build it on one of these spots, you can create the stuff so that the people that you put at your outpost, the NPCs on your team that you put at your outpost, and some of them will have skills directly related to managing outposts, outpost security, outpost technology. And so you're like, well, I want to build an outpost because that would be a good thing to do with these people that otherwise are just standing around my ship or standing around your home base or whatever. And so I think you can put them there, put these outposts on top of that landmass, set up the resource extractors, and they will still just automate the collection of that stuff. And the base building works really well. You can do it from, you're walking around in first person, setting stuff up. You can hit the V on the keyboard, and then suddenly you got a top-down view, and you're just playing a little city sim. And I really liked building stuff in Fallout 4. I think it's even better here.
Toro DK asked me, are there companion quests? There are. I'm in the middle of one right now. Jeff, Volition has been shut down. It's like, just shut down. All right. Banned.
Fucking embrace her.
Jesus. Okay. Another question here.
That sucks.
It does really freaking suck. What to kind of process that. Beast 2 asked, does it seem like, did they literally time this to happen on the Starfield embargo? Holy shit.
Yes, they 100% did.
Oh my
fucking sacks
God.
of shit.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, go to hell. Beef Stew asks, does it seem like the main gripe is there's too much to do with some of the sub 8 scores? I haven't read any of these yet. Obviously, been doing this. I'd be surprised if that's really.
I can tell you what the people on the staff who have been bored by the game say. They're bored by it. I think, not to put words in anyone's mouth, but like Bacalar, I talked to Bacalar about this enough. He's just like, he felt like, and this is true in the early game, I think, I am getting a mission, going somewhere, shooting some pirates, and then going back. Getting a new mission, going somewhere, and shooting pirate. And by going somewhere, it is clicking a button and fast traveling there and then fast traveling back. And that could feel very rote very quickly. And so I think people who are in these situations where it's like, if you get in that rut of doing some of these missions, or especially early on, that aren't great, and maybe find some other quests that maybe are kind of similar to that, that I think that can feel it can feel it's going to wear out its welcome quickly. You got to find some of these. This is why I would recommend, do the main mission, but then find what, like, go in the direction, play how you want, and see how the game accommodates that, and find the quest that goes along with the way you want to play. I think Dan is playing as a 3-star ranger. Basically, he's like a 7 samurai, magnificent 7. I think you are as well.
That's a really fun quest line, because you're basically like space sheriffs.
Exactly. Yes, and if you don't want to be a like military like space cop, and you would rather be someone who's like frontier justice, taking care of your own, well, that's the 3-star rangers. And then but if you do want to be like super space security space marine, there's a quest available for you as well. I didn't do any of it because I'm not a fucking narc, but
yeah, you're not going to get banned from our games.
No,
leaks and rumors.
I'll get banned for other reasons for sure.
Flame McAwesome asks, how's the carrying weight limit? I think it's pretty standard for a Bethesda game. The one thing is, like, getting all these resources can really weigh you down too, so you might have to kind of run back to your ship and store them on there a lot. And like,
or give them to your companion.
The first time you upgrade your ship, it's going to be to add more storage.
Yes,
absolutely.
So it actually works pretty well here. So in the past, in a Bethesda game, you get encumbered and you slow down and you can't run at all. Here you still can run, but your stamina meter goes down faster and your CO2 meter fills up faster. And your stamina meter is your O2 meter. And so you can still like move relatively quickly just for shorter bursts. And that's still it's really frustrating. So you do have to manage this stuff. But the solution there is, yes, give a lot of the resources to your companion. And then whenever you're back at your ship, fill up your ship with those resources. And then when you have all your resources in your ship, when you're building something or selling something or working at a research table to do some crafting, all that stuff will be pulled either from yourself or from the ship itself. I don't know if it pulls from companions. That's the thing I'm still confused about. So when you go back to the ship and you have the companion there, you probably should take the stuff back and put it in the ship at that point.
No Luck has asked, can you have sex with a robot bear? A lot of people have been asking about romance in general. Jeff, I've been able to flirt with some of my companions.
Same.
That's about it for me so far.
Yeah, Barrett's very horny for me, and I don't blame him. But
who wouldn't be?
Yeah. I've not. They've said as much that there's certain characters you can have sex with. Yeah.
Sure. Oh, okay. Let's see here now. Oh, the Pizza Baron asks, how much more do you plan to play? I plan to play a good bit more. Still definitely want to finish the main story quest and probably some of the other ones. Roll credits, as it were. But there is definitely a part of me. It's like I'm going to do that and then probably get back to playing Baldur's Gate 3, which I've had to put on the shelf for a while as I've been getting some of these review games like Armored Core in this.
Yeah, I'm going to be playing a lot more. I'll get credits as well. I don't think I've ever got. I did get credits in Fallout 4 actually, but I'll get credits here because I'm enjoying this main campaign, at least for now. Like if it like takes a left turn and suddenly I'm doing something else that I don't find as interesting, maybe I won't. I'll just go do some of the side quests. But if you play this game and you never play the main campaign, you'll be missing out on some stuff, which, they show in the trailer. It's like the voices from Skyrim. Like you'll miss on those kinds of features. But if for me, like that was never an appealing thing in Skyrim. I was like, no, I'm just going to go rob people's houses and go sell stuff to a fence and then do the Thieves Guild quest here or whatever. And I think if you go through one of these quests that that really does appeal to you, that's essentially playing through a main campaign, and you can do that and move on from the game.
AK416 asks, is there an in-game radio? I don't think so, Jeff.
No, I think I was thinking about that. That would be. I think that would have been a good idea. So I think they don't want this to feel like just strictly Fallout. I think they're like, this is not the same universe as Fallout. It's a whole new universe. But so much of it does already feel like that. I'm like, you should have just had like a space radio for me to tune into.
Yeah. Well, they give you that watch in the beginning and they make a big deal out of it. Almost kind of like, hey, you should buy that watch we're selling too. But you don't really do.
Mine's arriving today.
Much. Oh, there you go. There you go. You show. But yeah, so there's that thing. But no, it doesn't have a little radio in it. Let's see here now. Grantimus S, is there Earth? You can visit the Sol system. I think I'll say that. Yeah.
You can go to Sol, you can go to Earth. There's not much there on Earth.
Welcome to Earth.
Yep. At least as far as I know, maybe I bet there's some secret mystery there that I haven't seen yet.
Flamic Awesome asks, "Can I pet the space dog?" And I will reply, "How dare you
I
come at me like this?"
I was playing a preview game yesterday, and I ran past the cat, and I tried to stop to pet it. I'm like, Mike would be so proud of me.
Maybe so, yeah, something like that. AK416 asks, "Is there any sort of weather system?" I don't think so, Jeff. There's day and night for sure. Like,
Yeah,
obviously.
yes. So the simulation stuff is very much like the it does feel like the planets are rotating. It does feel like they are orbiting and stuff. There's like dust storms for sure, and there's lightning on some planets, but I don't know if it's like a system of like, oh, sometimes it's lightning and sometimes it's not. But I've definitely been to planets that have like a pretty decent weather-like effects. I'll say visually, the biggest disappointment for me from this game is how static the environments are. I like New Atlantis a lot, but you're gonna walk through like they have like this big like tree garden area, this big arboretum, and some of these trees are massive and huge. And you look at them, and they are just like still like they're made out of glass. And coming off a game like Tears of the Kingdom, which is like this low fidelity Switch game, but feels so alive because the foliage is just all bristling in the wind constantly, and it just feels, oh man, I'm in this space. This game's the exact opposite in a lot of ways. That's Bethesda games. At a certain point, I'm like, I only am noticing this right here. On most other planets, it does, like, well, especially these rocky, barren planets. Like that's not a problem, but occasionally it bothered me.
I want to say there's a couple people asking questions that are literally about some of the things we're not allowed to talk about yet in the embargo. So if I'm skipping your question, that might be one of the reasons why.
Yeah, there are like main story stuff. So this is what like the quick look because of my my bug. So if Bethesda gets mad at me, I'm gonna tell them to go to hell. But because I had to have Jan cut a bunch of stuff out. I saw a character die during the quick look, and I'm like, I don't even want to be doing this mission, but I can't do anything else until I get this mission done. They won't let me leave this place until I do it. So I was like, and I'm like, I didn't know that was going to be that way because I had a completely different save I was going to do the quick look with. But there is yeah, there are things in the main story that they haven't shown in the trailers for sure, and we're just not allowed to talk about those things yet. And really, you should see them yourself.
Hammond of Texas asks, "Playing with the Starfield controller?" So, like, in the game is really good about if you're playing on mouse and keyboard and you go to the controller, like, it just switches and all the button prompts change.
I'm doing what
like
Mike's doing.
Yeah, it was like, oh, I'm going to use it for the spaceship, and I have been. It is starting to get a little annoying because again, I am in that spaceship for so little. It's like, pick up this controller to basically kind of move my cursor to a planet and then push another button so I can land there. And then, sometimes there are going to be enemy ships there and I have to start fighting them, so I'll be ready. But sometimes I am like, just sticking with mouse keyboard. But if I am getting into a spaceship fight or something, then I am picking up this controller and using that. And it does feel really good for that. I definitely think controller feels better for flying the spaceship than mouse and keyboard.
Yes, definitely. I use the Starfield controller, on the when I was playing on the TV. But over here, I'm playing mouse and keyboard, and then I'm using my 8-bit do. 8-bit, yeah.
And honestly, I think I'd be fine playing the whole game with controller if I had to. The menus would be a little annoying, and I'll say, like, the UI looks good. Functionally, it's not great, and there's like weird little problems. Like, yeah, you notice, Jeff, like when you're on the ship and you want to put stuff from your inventory into the ship, you can't just go to your inventory. You have to go to your inventory, then push the button to look at the ship inventory, then go back to your inventory, and then you can put stuff into the ship.
Yes, I did notice that. There is a computer console on the ship to open your cargo. But like,
oh, is that what I'm supposed? Because I have this quest. Look at your ship cargo, and I'm like, I've done that a million times. What are you talking about? And it's still an actual
It's usually off to the side in your cockpit. Okay. Usually,
okay.
It depends on what kind of cockpit you have.
All right. Well, good to know. Thank you. See, this is the kind of info I would have gotten if I had played this game along with everyone else. Hema Texas also asked, "Have you tried Starfield on the Steam Deck?"
No, I did try it on the Roger Ally. It says, here's the thing, that the AMD drivers have been out of date for this game. So if you were playing on an AMD GPU, they sent you a link to download the new drivers privately, and those drivers don't work on the Roger Ally. So I tried to boot it up, and it'd be like, your drivers are out of date, but we're going to try to load up the game anyhow. And it loads up until it's like the game is about to start, and then you load into the actual game, and then it crashes and turns off. And I wasn't going to sit there and try to see how I can get it working because they already said, hey, you shouldn't review it on there. This is below our min spec. And I don't expect it to run very well on those things, at least not yet.
Winship asks, is there Star Trek-like space combat, ship-to-ship phasers, Torpedoes. I mean, you have like lasers and torpedoes. I don't know if I would explain it like Star Trek. It's definitely not like Star Wars. It's not Rogue Leader either.
Right.
It's maybe closer to Star Trek
I
than
mean,
that.
you need to use like your energy weapons on shields, and then you need to use your ballistic weapons to bring down their hull.
Yeah. I guess the energy transfer stuff definitely feels pretty Star
Right, so it's like you only have so many energy slots, and each weapon and your shields and your engines and your grav drive take up a certain amount of energy, and so you could like I'll put 2 bars of energy into my ballistic weapons, but I'm gonna put more into my energy weapons and my missiles, so that as I'm tracking this guy around, I'll mostly be firing those 2 things back and forth. But yeah, I like that part of it.
Evil Monkey Slayer asks, how evil can we be in Starfield? Can I go full evil thief person? Evilness is relevant to my interests. And I saw someone else ask, I can't remember where. Slim McAwesome asked, can you kill any NPC, or are there unkillable NPCs? I think there are unkillable NPCs.
Like the Bethesda game. When you kill Patrick Stewart in Oblivion or whatever, he just goes to sleep. There's definitely going to be stuff like that, because there are characters that are core to some missions. You can kill most NPCs, though, I think. Like in Bethesda games. And then how evil can you be? I think you could be you could full on. So I like the way I got drafted into the Crimson Fleet was I broke the law and got arrested and I went undercover. But I bet there's other ways to get into the Crimson Fleet. And even if you do that, you'd be like, no, I'm lying to the cops. I am full on just a pirate. And I am, and every time you come across a ship in space, this is why I do like spending time in space, because I like coming across other ships, and I've met other characters, including other NPCs that I can bring onto my ship by just exploring space and boarding their ship and having dinner with them. But when I've lost the thread. What was the question, Mike? Oh, how evil?
Evil, yeah.
So when you're flying around in space and you are talking to these other ships, you could trade with them, but you can also just straight up threaten them with piracy. Say, give me everything on your ship. And I haven't done that yet because I'm still like feeling things out, and I don't want to be doing piracy in Alpha Centauri or the Sol system or the Freestar Rangers, because I'll get a wanted rating and then I'll get arrested and lose all my stolen goods, and I want to keep my stolen goods. So, but you could play very evil, it seems like.
Few people have been asking about the third person camera. I never use it when I'm just like running around much, Jeff.
I don't like the way it feels in games like this.
I've never liked it, honestly. In these kind of
the way
games.
It works is, it is basically the first person camera, but it puts a character on the screen. So like the movement feels off because the animation is like always catching up with the camera. I think some people are going to be fine with it because people prefer third person to such an extent. They'll be like, that's just how I'm going to play. And I know a lot of people have been playing exclusively in third person. But boy, this is such a first-person game to me, and I've been playing it exclusively in third person.
I think it looks when you're in space, I think seeing your ship in third person looks neat. But I still play in first person.
Yeah.
Puppetry 2S is being a trader a viable path. I'd like to recreate Freelancer.
So to a certain extent, so me and Mike recorded something with Turbo Sean, who also has been playing the game, and that's on Game Mess, or the Jeff Grubbs Game Mess, and you can watch it on my YouTube channel if you want. But I explained there what I really want from a game like this is for it to be Sid Meier's Pirates, where I'm doing arbitrage, and I find that sugar is really cheap here, and I'm going to fly to the place that I know is buying it at a really high price. And Bethesda games always have that to a certain extent, right? Because the economy is real. Like, vendors only have so much money. You can't just duplicate every item and sell it all to one vendor, because the vendor's only got like 2,000 credits. So the fact that the economy is real means that, yes, there are definitely opportunities for you to take advantage of that. I just don't know how. It's like you're gonna have to like really look for those chances to do like a freelancer style arbitrage gameplay. I've not really done that yet. Mostly what I'm doing is I'm doing missions, and I'm either gathering up resources that way, or I'm occasionally like breaking into places and stealing things, and then looking for an opportunity to sell those things to other people.
Yeah, get a couple more here, then I know I'm gonna have to go. I gotta start packing, Jeff.
Same. I packed last night, but I still got a bunch to take care of.
I gotta pack, and I gotta probably get in my
car. We'll send people over to Tom anyhow. So
yeah, Windship asks, is there gear rarity like white, blue, green, purple, etc.? There's gear rarity.
Yes, there is. It's just it's not that big a deal, right? It's not like this is not a loot game, right?
No, it's not. A loot game.
Someone also asked, like, can you are there like armor drops as well as weapons? Yes, you have armor. You have clothes. On top of that, you have your spacesuit. You have your space helmet, and then you have the weapons
and the backpack too.
And your backpack.
Yes, right. That? What's that little snacky?
Yes, it's apples and mangoes in this mini fruit bar. That sounds good, kiddo.
That sounds disgusting.
Guess who had their first day of school today? Addie, how was
how's
it?
that?
She's being kind of quiet about it, so I wonder if something happened. There you go, friend.
Well, I mean, it's different and scary. Who knows?
Yes.
Feast of Violet asks, is there terrain manipulation of any kind? I don't think there's terrain manipulation of any kind, Jeff.
I don't think so.
I mean, aside from like when you mine like your little mineral points, those break. But
right, but it's not. And again, that's not like I think in No Man's Sky, right? You can like dig deep and like dig ravines and stuff, or like build hills, and it doesn't have that. No.
Let's end on this one.
Sure.
Nylock asks, how is the gun combat? How does it compare to other first-person shooters? That's definitely a big point of improvement. The gun play feels a lot better here. Yeah, you're not missing VATs or anything. Like enemy AI is still like not incredible.
Nope.
But the shooting guns feels very good. Now I don't know if it suddenly feels as good as playing Doom Eternal.
No, but like I said on our video, like it's as fun as the guys that made Doom Eternal work down the hallway. Like we talk to those guys every day, and we're like pretty good at making it feel like they work down the hall. Like that's how it feels. And
there's a lot of different guns.
Pretty good for a game like this. Yeah, and there's a lot of different guns. You're gonna find ones that work for you, or you're gonna do what me and Mike have done and have one of each ammo type. So you have like 25 guns in your inventory.
Which I might need to stop. Well, especially because early on, when you don't have much ammo, you're like, I need to have a gun for each of these ammo types because I don't want to run out of ammo. Now I'm at a point where, okay, I have so much of this pistol ammo. And that's like my one tip. Whatever you specialize in at least one gun type. Because, it is not so much an RPG. And Bethesda games have always been like that. You're going to have to fight people. You're going to have to shoot people. So at least get one kind of gun. Probably a standard one, like pick rifles or pistols or something that you can run around with a lot. Slay McGossip's asking what the best gun type is. I do like pistols because they have, pretty decent range, right? So you can't just specialize in that and probably shoot just about everybody you need to.
I got like this grenade launcher that's like named like the Ashanta killer or something like that. And it's called that because it kills these alien animals called Ashantas on this planet. And it's been very good, but the ammo type is pretty rare. Mike, last thing, the Bethesda games are always ones I play with a ton of mods. I'm going to play a ton of mods here. What I really want is I want to get the sex mod. And then I want to be an intergalactic man of the night. And I want to basically be a man whore and fly around from system to system, selling my body. Yes, and that's how I'm going to play. That's how I played Skyrim eventually, and that was a good time. So
I've just never really care about the mods.
I think a lot of people don't, but I think
most people don't.
Yes,
right?
but
that's such a barrier of entry.
If they do care about it, they care about it in Bethesda games. Like Bethesda is like the biggest modding community, and so I'm really looking forward to what happens there. And if that's what you come to these games for, this is a very strong foundation for that. I expect very fun things from that community. So,
do I dare go to our Starfield on Reddit and see people freaking out?
I am not. I'm like not even going to look at Twitter today.
I mean, God, freaking Armored Core's Reddit was mostly just people freaking out about like any criticism people gave the game, even though Armored Core 6 got like the best reviews by far of any Armored Core game. And this, again, it's an 87 now on Metacritic. I think 87 on OpenCritic. So 87. That is very good on the higher end of what I even thought that this game would do after playing it. But I think a lot this year, there's been so many 90s. I think some people are just going to freak out because it's not in the 90s, and they're going to like look at IGN and GameSpot giving it a 7 and be crazy. They just be insane and talk about bias or money exchanging or conspiracy theories. It's insane.
Yep. I mean, the stark reality here is this is a very good game that gets better the longer you play it. And yet, it's not going to be in that conversation with Tears of the Kingdom and some of these other, and Baldur's Gate 3 for Game of the Year. It's going to be right behind that. It's right behind that.
It's like, it might be in my top 10. Probably will be in my top 10. It's not going to be in my top 5.
Yeah.
That could be in my top 5.
I don't think so. It probably won't be in my top 5. I mean, I'm going to keep playing.
I think a lot of people know they're going to like this game. Like,
and you're almost certainly right if you think you're going to like
this game.
Yep, absolutely.
I think it's going to be a big hit from Microsoft.
Absolutely. I think it's going to do very, very well. And once you're playing it, you're going to forget about most of this stuff and have a good time. And I'm looking forward to it.
On this and on When We Do Everything, I feel like I'm coming across harsher than I mean, just because it is easy to talk about the problems. And because I think expectations were, I don't want to say inflated, but like there was definitely some hype, and I was feeling that too a bit. And there was a bit of a coming back down to earth.
Right. If you want like the one sentence story of what happened here is that Bethesda made its first really big Bethesda RPG in a long time, and the amount of time that has passed is not reflected in this game. It is still one of those games. It is still made obviously in that engine. The characters move like they're in that engine, and the whole game works that way. It's just now they added a whole bunch of other ambitious stuff. And if you had fun in those games, you're gonna probably have fun here as well.
Absolutely.
All right, Mike, thank you so much for coming in and helping with that. Thank you, everybody, for the questions. There's the quick look is up. Again, me and Mike have done one with Turbo Sean, a video talking even more of our thoughts over there on the Jeff Grubb's Game Mess YouTube channel, all that stuff. I am going to go get ready. Mike's going to go get ready. We're going to be in Seattle by tonight, so we got to make that happen.
Crazy. Okay, yeah, I'll see you at the airport, Jeff.
See you there. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care of yourself. Till next time. Goodbye.